I was sitting out in my beach chair and you go, oh, what's that? Because I never order off of Amazon, really. And I was like, oh, nothing. And I didn't want to open it in front of Jeff because I knew you would be like, another Tumbler?
Yay Networks.
Hey guys, episode 40. It's finally warm here. I walked 5 miles today. The sun gets me going. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because you just jumped right in. I was making sure the camera's on and you were like already into a story.
Yeah. It's hot. The sun's out. It makes me...
It's all right.
It's hot right now.
It's like in the 60s.
Okay, so here in Denver, around like 2, 3, and 4, it's the hottest.
The months?
No. 2, 3, and 4.
The hours. I was like, what are you talking about?
It's normally the hottest. Like at noon, I'm still kind of cold. But once it's pickup time, it's like the sunroof is open, good jams playing, and you're hot.
So 2 weeks ago, we were complaining about like snow here because it was like 2 feet of snow. And then this weekend, like Easter weekend, I got fried. I got sunburned.
I did too.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. Like, I got to get back to putting like lotion on and stuff. But the weather's crazy here because we're going to go fishing with my buddies this weekend. We do it every year. We go fly fishing and stuff. And it's going to be 70 here the next 2 days. It's actually Wednesday, a week before this thing's coming out. I hate screwing up people with the timeline. But because I'm going fishing, we had to record a little earlier. And it's going to like be freezing. We're going up in Wyoming and it's supposed to be like snowing.
Do you remember when you and it's all I think about with Wyoming. I know nothing about Wyoming.
I said that story to Tony today, one of my friends were coming in. And he's like, what happened? I'm like, we drove there. Well, you go ahead. Yeah.
Lawson was turning 2, maybe, or 3. And Jeff and I thought it would be a great idea to do something different and go to Wyoming to a...
Buffalo farm?
I think it was a buffalo farm. Not knowing that Wyoming has winds that go up to like 60 miles.
Legit tumbleweeds, like through the road.
Car was like shaking.
Not only that, you know what else? You remember
fire.
That? Yeah.
Then I believe it was Pikes Peak fire. It's one of like the worst fires.
Right.
So we make it to the buffalo farm and I'm like, all right, we can do this. We'll fight through the wind, even though I'm not even joking. It was like 60-mile-an-hour winds. Oh, and then we were almost out of gas and I freak out if the gas gets low. And I'm like, you have to pull over at an exit. I don't want to be stuck here. And then we had like 10 miles till empty, I think, and we weren't paying attention. I was so mad at Jeff for not paying attention because I'm one of those people that...
I was into a podcast. I still remember. It was Sammy to Bolgravano talking about the mob for like 4 hours. And I listened to the whole thing and I got like the skinny on everything. And I still remember that. Yeah. And then that's why I wasn't paying attention because I was so into the podcast. And then, so the fire is like on our left, obviously not next to the road, but it's in the mountains. You could see the fires like smoldering and flames here and there.
But because the wind was so bad, the fire was spreading like crazy.
Exactly.
And then I'm telling Jeff, I'm like, we're at this buffalo farm. Should we be getting out of here if there's a fire?
They're like, what are you doing here? They kicked us out.
Remember we walked around? Because they said you could pet some of the animals. And we thought we drove all the way there that we should do it. So then I tell Jeff, I'm like, all right, I'm getting nervous. I don't have a good feeling about this. We need to go. So we drove all the way to Wyoming to turn around. Then we get stuck in like this fire and it was scary.
It was like over still have the video because I was just talking about with Tony today. The fire, it wasn't over us, but we were definitely inside like the smoke and it was like, it was like we were in hell.
Yes.
Like I'll attach a little video to it so you guys could see. But yeah, it was like dark orange and it was just, it was crazy.
Air was just smoke. And then
I was like, what do I do? Do I just keep going or do we turn around?
Yeah, well, there was nowhere else. We had to go that way out because there was no way going the way we came.
And eventually you come out of this like tunnel and I was like,
you could barely see the cars in front of you.
That was probably not the smartest play.
No. And then I remember we get back to our apartment. We were living in an apartment then. And they're like, didn't you know that fire is like one of the biggest fires that they've had? And I'm like, we're two idiots.
Yeah,
we
we
didn't
didn't know
even
what we
check
were
the
doing.
weather. We didn't even know Wyoming, like I said, was windy.
Yeah.
It was,
Oh my God. I just said that to them. Like, wow, that was so stupid of us.
so
to do
now,
that.
if we
So now I'm
plan
driving back to
something-
Wyoming, and that's a memory I have. And it's supposed to be freezing and super windy. And Tony, my buddy's got his heart set on fly fishing. And I'm like, maybe we just fish around here, dude. There's fish over here. But no, he wants to drive, get a piece of elk, go all these random things that he listens to.
Doesn't a neighbor here have some elk that you can borrow?
Listen, I've already tried to talk him out of it today. When he hears this, he's going to be very disappointed. But I'm like, dude, let's not do that. Because I don't want us be in a river, not catching fish, and it'd be windy and freezing. Because I'm just going to be like, peace out. I'm out of here. I don't
Just
like.
you and Tony, or is it
And
your
Steve, yeah, Steve's going too, which is a good middle ground. He's the voice of reason. But I don't enjoy doing things. People are like, let's go golf. You know, it's like 50 and just, it's sprinkling outside. I don't want to golf. I don't want to golf in the rain and the cold. I don't like it that much. I don't want to stand in a river where the wind's blowing in my face and we're not catching any fish.
I think fishing is just so boring.
I love it. It's beautiful, but not when the weather's not great. And we know it's not going to be.
Normally,
Anyways,
if Jeff wants to go fishing and we're with our kids, I'm laying there just getting a tan. Leighton has a fake fishing pole that he thinks he's getting real fish. And then Lawson, because he's old enough, has the one with the hook.
Leighton's getting one too this spring. So
Oh, well, Jeff.
I got a little honey hole not too far from the house, and it's like you got to get out of the car and walk a little ways, but they have like bluegill in there and little small bass and stuff that you can catch. So it's perfect for the kids. I'd like to take Tony there as well and skip this Wyoming trip.
Oh, man. Yeah. So that's our little story with Wyoming. Do you want to take a little break?
Already? We didn't even start. We just went on a tangent about Wyoming.
Okay. What else do you
We'll
want?
take a little
Here,
time.
I forgot to do my weight loss update. So many of you want the number of the girl I'm seeing. I need to ask her because she runs this place and she also works in the ER. And I want to be like, hey, do you want like 100 extra new patients?
A lot of people ask you about it?
So many of you guys. And I'm not, again, not pushing anything. I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling you guys about my experience with it. So taking trizepatide, today I give myself a shot tonight. Jeff, I have him fill it up in the needle because I
don't
can't.
understand that.
I don't know. I just can't. And then it's a weird thing because I'm like,
She makes me get the liquid out, but then she injects herself in the stomach.
because I
don't get
feel
it.
like I'm going to mess up on the amount, and I feel like you're better at that. So you'll get it right because I feel like I would give myself too much.
You've been real panicky these last couple.
I think it's
Weeks.
because of just everything going on.
All right.
So, not getting into all that. But what am I talking about? Oh, weight loss. Going back to that. So, I am down 5 pounds. My goal is a pound or 2 a week. Not trying to drop 5 pounds in
No,
a
that's
week or any-
realistic.
Yeah.
That's, and healthy.
And my labs came back and she said they were fantastic. So instead of going once a month to get my labs, I don't have to do it for 6 months. And I don't even plan on being on these shots that long. This is kind of just to kickstart. Like I said, I walked 5 miles today because it was beautiful outside. And just watching what I eat. Yesterday, I was a little stressed out, so I did cheat because I've been so good about everything else. And then this cup, I got it on Amazon, and it's a 40-ounce cup, and I love it. I carry it around with me all the time, and I drink I fill this up 3 or 4 times.
What's up with those cups? If you're listening, you can't see this ridiculous cup. It's about a foot tall.
No, people love these. I didn't even know
Yeah,
they
why?
existed. I don't know, because I have to have a drink. And when I was younger, I never drank water. I never drank anything. I could go a whole day without drinking. And now it's like,
But who drinks that much? I mean, I drink a lot of water, and I don't carry
I've purposely
ridiculous
been
cup like
trying
me.
to
But
drink
That's
more.
like hip to have a cup like that now.
Well, this was $20 on Amazon. And I think I like it better than my Stanley, to be honest with you.
Oh, it's Stanley. That's what I was going to say.
No,
What
it's
are those
not a
called?
Stanley. This is like
I know. I was going to say,
cheap
what's
one.
like the crazy Target ones people are?
I think it's Stanley.
It's Stanley.
But didn't Stanley, because somebody said that something causes cancer in the Stanley, I thought
Oh, no
like
way.
people kind of push back. Yeah, I read something, unless it was fake news. I read something on that. But I switched. So $20 on Amazon, you can get a nice one, and it comes in different colors. I bought 2 colors, and I purposely didn't open the Amazon box. I was sitting out in my beach chair, and you go, oh, what's that? Because I never order off of Amazon, really. And I was like, oh, nothing. And I didn't want to open it in front of Jeff because I knew you would be like, another tumbler?
We have a
Really?
cabinet full of tumblers and nobody uses.
Even my kids have small tumblers. But
Which they don't
Leighton
use.
was like, Mom, I want one.
Oh, get him one that he won't use. Go order some more.
But I was at the pool, like in the summertime, they'll use it. Anyways, we're going to take a break and then we'll
Not in our
continue on.
relationship, just in the podcast.
Welcome back. We just had a little side talk we had to do.
Yes.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Okay, so we kind of, as usual, went off on a tangent about Wyoming, driving through fires. But I did want to talk about something because I don't know how many people listen to the podcast as well as watch Daily Blast Live, the show that I'm on. Because we're only in like 65, 70% of the country. Not a lot of listeners get to watch it, unless they watch it on YouTube. So it's not on their cable. So they brought up an interesting question this week, but we only have like a minute or two to talk about a certain subject. I mean, at the most, like a minute 30, because there's 5 different people. You have to let everybody kind of get a chance to talk. But there was a question on the show that I thought was really interesting and very open to both sides. Again, we don't like talking about politics on the show, but the question started from Donald Trump. Actually, it started from Ronald Reagan, I think, back in the day. And he asked, and it's again, I think all presidents ask this, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And it's saying like, if you aren't, you should vote for me, or if you are, you should vote for that guy, whatever it is. That's the political angle from it. Do you get what I'm saying? So every 4 years we get a new president.
Yeah.
So if you're worse off, you should probably vote for the other guy. If you're better off, well, then he's doing a good job.
Right.
That's kind of the gist of that question. But I wanted to take it out of politics a little bit because there's so many different angles you could take, when you ask yourself that question. Looking back 4 years ago, am I a better person? How was the times? Things like that. So I took it as like that. I did it like my mind went to like socially. How was I 4 years ago as opposed to today? So take politics out of it. I don't want to get anybody riled up on either side. But socially, when I look back 4 years, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because it's hard to express some of the feelings that I'm going to talk about now in a minute and 30 seconds. Like sometimes I'll blurt something out in the show and I'm like, man, I wish I said more, or I shouldn't have said that without explaining myself more. So that's why I wanted to bring this up on the podcast.
That's just like Instagram stories. You only get a minute to say something, and it's better.
So you wouldn't cover something super heavy in that minute.
You would say it on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah, so you can completely explain yourself and explain where you're getting at.
Right. So that's kind of what I wanted to dive into because we have time to talk about and break down what I'm talking about a little bit. For yourself, would you say you're better off 4 years ago as you are as opposed to today?
Okay, I'm not talking politics.
No, okay. Again, I don't want to
I'm
get
just
anybody
saying that
riled
again.
up here. Right. So look at it just through COVID.
That's where I was going with. I was going to say, well, 4 years ago, a good thing we bought a new house. So that was a great
Right.
economy, I feel like, was a little bit better. COVID hit terrible.
But all I think, like when I come down here a lot, I think of you trapped down here for 14 days and we celebrate your birthday. I know
Leighton's
you can't
birthday.
see, or Leighton's birthday, and we were on the patio with the cake and we couldn't. So like looking back, that was worse. You know what I mean? When you
Yeah.
look at it, cake. So again, ask yourself that question at home, take the political angle out of it. And that's where you can have a little fun with this question.
Yeah. I don't know, it was just a lot different because the kids now are more independent, and beforehand they were younger. So, and then COVID happened. Well, they're younger. They want to be outside. They want to do things. It happened in March when everything shut down. Only reason I remember that is because that's when we closed on our house. So that was, I think, a hard time because you were working from home. I had to keep the kids.
Which is a blessing that we made it through that whole thing.
Yeah,
you know?
but it could be, we could have been in our little apartment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It could have been
sure.
way worse. Thank God for me for pushing, getting a house, right?
We did buy it at the
you
right
out.
time. I will definitely give you credit for
Because
that.
then home prices just soared. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to afford this house buying it now as opposed to 4 years ago. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, because homes now, I'm like, wait, how much is that?
Yeah,
There is no way.
We wouldn't have been able to move in here.
Okay, but going back during COVID, there was a lot of things going on, a lot of people getting canceled.
So that's kind of when I said, did I mention like socially,
Yeah,
things are very different.
So
Very
different because from what I remember, that was kind of the time, well, COVID, and then people were losing their jobs.
Yes, there was a lot of things going on. But so looking back, I don't remember a time, a 4-year period time that life, at least for me, changed that dramatically in 4 years. I don't remember, even like beginning of high school, the end of high school, I could barely remember that. But I just don't remember things changing in the world and in my world specifically so much, you know? And if you go back 4 years, again, it was wild. So you had COVID, right? You had the Me Too movement, right? And when we talk about some of these things, you had Black Lives Matter. When you talk about some of those things needed to happen, right? There was injustice in the world, and I get that. I get why things happened, but in 4 years, I feel like they went a little bit too far. Not just those specific cases. I'm talking about cancel culture, woke culture. Again, I'm trying not to get too political here. I don't want to take that angle. I'm just talking about myself specifically. You know, I haven't really shared with you guys. You know, I used to work with CBS a lot and CBS Interactive specifically. And with all that stuff that went on, you know, I get a little uncomfortable talking about it because it hurt a little bit because it's not show business. I mean, it's show business, not show friendship. But I had a lot of friendships over there, you know?
So many.
And some things happened and, you know, and
You had a job lined up during COVID.
Right.
For
right.
CBS.com, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I don't speak about this too much because I don't want to talk down on anybody. You know, I don't want to hold anything over anybody's head. But again, it's show business, not show friendship. But yeah, I was supposed to do another round of I used to interview the house guests before they went in the house, and it being COVID, they asked me to do it again, but via satellite. And I was again ecstatic to be part of the family because I always wanted to be, I should put it in past tense, appreciative of where I came from. You know, and no matter where I went in my career, always look back and say, hey, that's how I got started. You know, like this is the team and the group and the people. I realize that.
I think it comes from you are so loyal to the people who are loyal to you, and you didn't know a lot of things and learned so much from a group of people over at CBS.com that lifted you up when you were down in the dumps. They were like, keep going, and teaching you tricks and telling you, no, something will happen. Just keep going.
And even bare basics, just the opportunity.
Right.
The opportunity they gave me, you know, and had faith in me to do that. That alone, I'll never forget, you know, let alone all the things I learned when I was there. I mean, this whole studio, if you're watching online, I learned like how to set up the lighting and stuff from all the guys I worked with over there.
I shared that on my Instagram story, and I shared their photo.
Yeah, so it's about lighting and all that stuff. I'm into all that. But
half the people that we're talking about aren't even there anymore. Which is sad. And it's just like a rotation. But get going where you were talking about.
Again, I'm trying to be gentle when I talk about this. But so I was supposed to start, I was supposed to sign my contract, I should say, and get that over to them. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine that used to work there and said, Jeff, you know what? You know, some things you said a decade ago when you were on the show, you know, we can't have you on the show now because of this cancel culture movement and things like that. And I was like, God, are you serious right now? Like, I just signed the contract and I've done a dozen shows with you guys. Like, you're telling me I can't, you guys don't want to be with, you guys are like basically cutting ties. This is the end of this. And, you know, that person felt really bad. And I felt, you know, gutted. Listen, I've said some things, and again, people make mistakes, and I've made mistakes, and I've apologized for those mistakes over and over and over again. But again, when I get back to the 4-year thing, it's like, when do you let go of that? How many times can you be punished for the same crime or the same? And I didn't commit any crimes. I didn't commit a crime, but I get what they had to do, you know, and going a little deeper into it, knowing a lot of people at that company, I found out why. And it was because people who didn't like me, again, I'm being very ginger here, people who didn't like me, that I know who they are, constantly wrote CBS, constantly. And a person that I do know over at CBS had to relay those messages to their boss, because this one person would write them over and over. And it got up to the boss. And you know, at the time, I guess looking back, I don't blame them, because they had to do, it was either me or them, and they had to do what was right.
They don't want the publicity. They don't want
right. They had to do what was right for the company. But to turn your back on somebody that, you know, you have that history with, and I did over a dozen shows with CBS Interactive with them, it hurt, because it was like, it was my family. And I did have this great job at Daily Blast Live, so it didn't ruin my career, but it, you know, it severed that friendship and ties with CBS.
But people still, now that he's at Daily Blast Live, come after your job.
Yes, and that's the social part that I kind of want to get into, because you could not like me, and that's fine, right? But to the part where it started to bother me, that was one. But again, looking back, I get it. It was them or me, the boss or me, and the boss just had to look out for themselves, and these people had to look out for themselves.
But you were, Jeff, you were crushed.
I was crushed.
Like, still, you would if you had like a couple drinks, you would just bring it up, and I'm like, let it go. You're on to something else now. Let it go. Yeah. And
it was the friendships. It was the friendships.
It was the friendships, and it was you loved everybody over there, and that you felt backstabbed almost, right? Or am I saying that wrong?
No, that you could put it like that. But again, I don't want to put it on CBS. It's my fault. I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy, and you know, when I do something wrong, you got to pay for it, right? And I paid for it many times over, and I'm still paying for it today. Which is, how many times can you get blamed, or how many times could you serve time for the same crime? You know?
Well, he's basically.
But what,
you basically were canceled.
I was canceled. And you know what? I don't want to put Dr. Drew on the spot here, but Dr. Drew had his own stuff too, but that's not what I'm talking about. We had Dr. Drew on the show, and he was a friend of Sam. They used to have a show together, Sam Shocker on Daily Blast Live. So I called Sam. That's how devastated it was. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. I'm like, is Dr. Drew available? And I called Dr. Drew, and he like had to not talk me off the ledge or anything, but I was like, this is what happened. And he's like, man, this is just a weird time. And then he kind of went through his own stuff. But he was a good friend, and he talked me through it. And he was nice but it's nice that I had that connection to talk to him. That's how like devastated I was, you know? And there's still people, by the way, that may or not be listening to this. I work at CBS, that I know who it is who, again, you had to do what you had to do, but you know, those friendships are severed. But I still love a lot of people over there. And the point I'm trying to make is, I don't know what point I'm trying to make.
Well,
you're rambling a little bit.
People always ask, is Jeff ever going to be back on Big Brother? Are you guys ever going to do this and that? And in my head, I'm like, Jeff's canceled, but we've never talked about it.
Right.
But people don't know that, because for CBS.com, you did Around the World for free. A lot of people don't know that. You did like a CBS interactive show.
I said over a dozen shows.
I know. And then we did Jeff and Jordan Do America and things like that. And then it's just kind of like, that's why, like, when people ask and people don't know that, you were one of those people.
Yeah. So it did happen. And again, and I didn't say it didn't need to happen. When I mentioned those social movements and things like that. Things needed to get corrected, you know, and looking back, it definitely did. And we're in a better place. We were. And I think we went a little bit too far. And again, other people listening to this might have different opinions. I'm just telling you my story and how it went. And that when people, my job now is not to be a journalist, it's to report on my opinion. I've never claimed I was a journalist. We do have different opinions on the show. And I'm talking about Daily Blast Live now. And that's why people watch the show. They have different opinions. But now your opinion gets you pigeonholed into this category, right? So if I lean, and I'm very much in the middle politically, and I know people don't think that by looking at me or by sometimes hearing what I say, but I do see both sides on every issue. And I don't like either of these presidents. And I'm telling you, but whatever I say, it's okay socially now to pigeonhole me and put me into a box and write my boss and tell me to get fired, or even my new boss, and write them letters and write into the show. And it's like, this is the exact same movement everyone was fighting against to get those things fixed, that people were being put into boxes for wrong reasons and misinterpreted. And now it seems to be okay, just as long as it's not their group.
Yeah.
Am I coming off too harsh or
No.
political here? I'm just trying to be honest with you guys and tell you my story, because I do get, you know, judged a lot for a lot of things. And I'm telling you, even if I tell people where I stand, they don't believe me, and they rather just hate on you and put you into that hole, you know? And so it brings me back, you know, to, I could talk on more and more.
Keep going.
About
We
this.
got time. The people want to hear, Jeff.
You want to hear me complain? But what
You're not
I'm saying is,
complaining. You're
when,
just
when I
sharing.
got asked that question, are you better off 4 years ago or today? That's why I said take the politics out of it. Socially, we've gone beyond correction. We're past correction. And I mentioned on the show a little bit that I just blurted out and then I'd stop. We're now to a point where we're respecting people's opinions so much that child molesters and predators are being called, what is it called?
You told me this the other day. You talked about it on the show. I didn't hear it.
It's minor attracted persons. They're being called minor attracted persons now. Child molesters. So I'm getting put into a box that, like I said, my show is so great. My boss is so great. And everyone who works there is so great. Everything that I had at CBS.com, I have 2 times over at Daily Blast Live. Everyone's wonderful. But socially, to write into a show and ask for somebody's job and things like that, when there's people out there that are sticking up for child molesters and trying to rearrange their name because they're offended by child molester. They want to be called minor attracted persons. Now we've gotten to a place of insanity. And that's what I'm saying. That's kind of my whole point. And I get the correction and I'm here for it, and it definitely need to be corrected. But when you're going that far to start correcting things like that, it's a little nutty for me.
That's insane.
You know, and that's an extreme case. I get it. But
The thing about like certain, I'm not saying everybody, because everybody here that follows is so great and so supportive.
for the most part, everyone is. And again, sometimes I get in my own head and things are worse than they are. So this could be one of those times. And if I really stop myself and say, man, look how great you got it. We're having fun with this podcast in our house. Our kids are upstairs. They're beautiful and healthy. I do that all day long. Don't think I'm not appreciative of where I'm at or the job
You're
that I have.
sharing something that people
I'm just
haven't
sharing.
heard before.
Yes.
Because people all the time are like, Jeff, you need to try to do this show or that show. And it's like, people don't know that you're like, I can't because I'm, word gets around.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like labeled that.
Well, I'm going a little...
But what you said a long time ago is not who you are.
I guess what I'm saying is social media maybe has gotten crazy for me in the last 4 years, because that's not the real world. That's not the real world at all. I've never, since I've been on TV, had someone come up to my face and say something negative or derogatory or mean or threatening ever, not one time, to my face. Online, every day. We're doing it. Someone's listening to this podcast right now while they're writing a hate message because they didn't like my interpretation of what they think life is. And again, if you're listening and you think it's different and you don't agree with me, I'm totally down with that. I'm down with listening to it. I'm down with meeting new people. That's why I love traveling. There is no, when you go to someone else's country and you go to their house, you don't say, I have this preconceived notion of what things are or aren't. You go along with what their culture is, and you're very accepting, and they're very inviting. And I have a million stories of how positive the world is just by that show that I did with CBS Interactive, and how great people are and how willing people are. My famous story was when I was in the jungles in Laos, and that guy had 2 chickens for his whole family. That was his whole life. Speaking of not having things or having things. And he killed one of his chickens because I was visiting and he couldn't even speak English. That's how people are. You know, that's how I want life to be. That's how I interpret other people when I meet them, to be like, wow, this guy's going all in. I got to do the same. I got to respect that energy. But online, it's the opposite energy. You should lose your job. You should kill yourself. Your kids are XYZ. How dare you? And that's okay. I got to get fired from my job for like 5 minutes of a lapse of judgment, but you could write that stuff all day and it doesn't affect your life. I don't know. Maybe we're going too far here, but I just wanted to share that a little bit. It made me think, and I'm definitely self-conscious, and I'm definitely, apologetic. I've always have been for 15 years. 15 years. That's close to what it has been. And yeah, people a lot ask, and
it comes over
wonder
to
why.
me.
And I want to get that off my back. You know, I want to move on from that because I'm already in a better place. But you're right. Mentally, I don't know if I'll ever get over that.
No, and I think you're so loyal, and you wanted to grow with them.
Yes.
And you saw that as, I'm going to grow with these people. And then they were like in an instant, just like, peace, bye. You're
and
gone.
again, that's
the business, though. That's how it is. Nobody's your friend. And
it's show business, not show friendship. And that makes me sad because where I'm at right now, I feel like it is show friendship. I feel like we all got each other's backs. Even if we bicker on the show, I'm telling you guys, like at home, I could call anybody at my whole studio, to be honest with you, but especially the hosts. And I've talked to them about certain issues or things I said, and everyone supports each other. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And
watching you talk about this now, I'm seeing you fighting back the tears. And now you're finally just saying it, because people say it to me all the time. Why doesn't Jeff do Big Brother interviews anymore? Well, that's why.
Yeah.
So now you guys know what's going on, and this is no shade towards CBS.
It isn't.
It's a business, and
I get it.
They did what they had to do, and yeah, it changed over there.
Yeah, and definitely. Well,
I don't know anybody over there anymore, but the people who were over there were amazing that I knew. People always think because we were on Big Brother, you have connections to all that stuff. Half the people are gone that I used to love, like going over there and seeing. But again, this is just Jeff sharing his being canceled story. And
I didn't even mean for it to get into that. I was just explaining how, it's been, socially.
Well, where your mind goes, like where you're thinking, it consumes you sometimes.
Yeah.
And
that's definitely something that I don't share, that consumes me the most, outside the health of my family and things like that. Career-wise, that is something that consumes me the most.
Which even when I tell it, I'm like, forget it. Like, who cares?
I know. I told you. Yeah, it bothers me because I hurt people that I love, and people now have this misconception of me. And the business that I'm in, even though we're in Denver, Hollywood, it's, you play by their rules, or you don't play at all.
But I was saying this because of what happened, you getting canceled, it comes over to me,
Yeah.
It's affected me too, but I don't care. Ride or die.
I love you. Thank you for that. But yeah, sorry, that one was a little downer. But people ask and assume and different things, and maybe people over there will see it differently. That's just how I see it. And I got it off my chest. So that's that.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for subscribing. Keep tagging your friends and keep the messages coming. I try to do my questions today. I'm going to try to do it after this, but I don't know. My Instagram's not working right now.
I'm going to go to the Wyoming wilderness and enjoy.
You got it off your chest. Now everybody knows. So y'all have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week, I mean. And we'll see you next week.